Okay, so now we made it to the next section. As you notice, we're laying layer by layer. It's definitely a process because we're basically merging two concepts together. One, making sure you understand how the right functions and understand what the function is doing, but writing a test to go along with it. And then you may find as you're writing this test that it seems like it's more work to write the test than to actually write the function. But learning this skill set is going to really help you really understand how functions work. So when you do get that opportunity, when you're working on the job, you know how to ask good questions so you can know what you are creating and the results that you're trying to get. So if you're new to this channel and you would like to follow along with the curriculum, the link is in the description. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. Let's get into it. Unit testing in action. Testing a bit of an art, or testing is a bit of an art. There are no hard and fast rules about how to go about writing good tests. That said, there are some general principles that you should follow. In this section, we explore some of these. In particular, we focused on identifying good test cases by working through a specific example. A test case is a single situation that is being tested. What to test is the question. When writing tests for your code, what should you test? You can't test every possible situation or input. This is one of the things where I talked about code coverage. I kind of introduced it to you. Code coverage on the team that you may be on, they may want 60-70% of code coverage. 100% code coverage is not realistic, but it's possible, but it's just not realistic to write 100% code coverage, and this is what this is talking about. But you also don't want to leave out important cases. A function or program that isn't well tested might have bugs lurking beneath the surface. Since we are focused on unit testing, in this chapter we will generally use the term unit to refer to the function or program under consideration. Regardless of the situation, there are three types of test cases that you should consider: positive, negative, and edge cases. A positive test verifies expected behavior with valid data. A negative test verifies expected behavior with invalid data. That's what we did with the Hello World. We did a positive and a negative test. Don't get it confused with passing and failing. A positive and negative test is what we were doing, checking to see if the function was had an empty argument, checking to see if it had an argument in it, and it had to be a string. An edge case is a subset of positive tests, which checks the extreme edges of a valid value. Imagine a function named setTemperature that accepts a number between 50 and 100. A positive test value will be 56, 75, 80. Negative test values be -1, 101, 70, and a string, because we're just looking for a number. Edge case values 50, 100. Considering positive, negative, and edge tests will go a long way towards helping you create well-tested code. Let's see these in actions. By writing tests for a familiar function is palindrome. Here's the setup. Notice here we have two functions. We have the function for reverse, and we have the is palindrome, which we are passing in the reverse argument or function, and we're giving it the string for the parameter, and we're saying it has to be equal to a string, whatever string that we're putting it in. But notice here we're using string, this string as parameter. Now it's the object. Once we get the input that we want to test or that we want to compare, Then we're going to split the string on each character, reverse, and then we're going to join it back together to make sure that it is a palindrome, which this is considered what we call a Boolean because of is that is in front of it. Now we're going to open up our palindrome example in our directory. So here's the directory. Here it is right here. The palindrome already got us opened up right here. So there's the code. And then we said here, note that we have exported the is palindrome function. So we did export it at the bottom of the file, which is on line 9. You have become used to testing your code by running it and printing out with console.log. When testing code with the unit test, we no longer need this approach. If you find yourself tempted to add console.log statements to your code, write a unit test instead. You will mostly likely remove the console.log after getting the code to work, while the test will remain for you and other developers to use in the future. What I was saying earlier about when we do comments and console.logs, we don't leave those in our code. We take those out of our code. We use our tests to document everything. Not saying that you don't have to use, you may not ever use a console.log and leave it in, and never use comments to remind yourself what you're doing or what an actual piece of code or a segment of code is doing. But you definitely want to write tests, and you're going to use your test to be your documentation. Finally, create a test directory, and inside make a new file called palindrome.test.js. This file should include imports and describe block like so. So what are we asking you to do? We're asking you to come over here inside this is palindrome, gonna right click it, do a new file. And you're going to or do folder and just call it test, and then put your test. So this is what we're telling you to do. So we already give you an example how to follow it. All you got to do is create this directory, and which is this right here. This is the directory right here. If I click this gives me a new text file. If I click this I believe gives me a directory. Let me see. Where am I at? Okay, that gives me, let me make sure I'm in the right thing. So what I want to do, I just click new folder and put test here, just like we have right here, test. So I'm gonna do that for you. So figure this out. I want you to go ahead and play around with that code. So I showed you how to do that. All you gotta do is right click this and do a new folder for the directory. Then you put the file inside. So I'm going to stop the video here, and I'm going to pick up when we start doing the negative and the positive writing the test. So again, the more you do, the more you improve. All right, I see you so we can finish up this section.